Warm greetings to you all curious language teachers. Learning vocabulary requires some substantial mental effort to be put in the process. As a result, the students might turn uninterested and disengaged, and not much learning is happening. So how to make vocabulary activities more interesting? That is the question today. Tomorrow we'll have another question to tackle. In this video, let's look at Penny Ur's suggestions, which are simple but which can make a huge difference when it comes to engaging our students in learning the new vocabulary. We'll consider the same text we used in the previous video. Now, I decided to select the following vocabulary items for my students to learn. What we'll do next is to create 6 activities ranging from traditional, that means rather boring, to more interesting, thus more engaging. A commonly used activity which is considered boring is the traditional gap fill. It got its unflattering title because it is a drilling activity and students can end up doing it mechanically without putting much effort or thought into the process. And whenever something is done mechanically, boredom might ensue and no actual learning is happening. So this is how the activity would be like. Fill in the gaps with the right word. When you ... at someone, you quickly close and open one eye. ... is the time in the morning when the sun starts to rise. To ... means to upset somebody. If something isn't interesting, it's ... You've got the picture. The list can go on, including all the targeted vocabulary items. The next activity is usually labeled as fairly boring. This time the students are asked to make up a sentence with any of the vocabulary items. This activity makes the learners think of an appropriate context for a vocabulary item. It's slightly more challenging than the previous one, yet it is still viewed as fairly boring by a vast majority of teachers and students. From now on, we'll get the suggestions to make the activities a bit more engaging. The activity that gets the median in score on interest is the one in which we ask the students to make up a sentence with 2 of the given items. It is more challenging than the previous one. The students will have to pay more attention to the process of making up such a sentence. As a result, students become more interested and engaged in doing the activity. They may come up with such examples as a fisherman catches fish with his rod. People wake up early to admire the sunrise. He is jealous of the winner. The activity that got the fairly interesting score is the following. Ask students to make up a sentence with any word that is false. We can get something of the kind. It's nice to see litter in the street. It's great to sleep outdoors when it rains. People use rods to take pictures. When reading their sentences, students are bound to have some fun as they know how absurd this can sound, provided they know the vocabulary, of course. As a result, they will be more engaged both in the process of making up such sentences and in the process of sharing the sentences. What can score even more interesting than that? Something very simple. Ask students to make up a sentence with any word that is true about themselves. For example, I have never used a rod. I like to see the sunrise. I don't like to be outdoors on a cold, rainy day. I don't like when people throw litter in the streets. Now you know something about me. When we personalize an activity, we make it more interesting for our students. They like talking about themselves and they get to know each other better. There's one more activity that has been labeled as the most interesting. It can be done in pairs or in small groups. Ask students to write a story with all of the words. Storytelling is known for the fun it brings in both the creation and sharing processes. These are the suggestions given by Penny Ur. Would you give the same score? But probably what we should ask ourselves is what our students' score would be. I think we should first try and observe the degree of their engagement. Hope it was useful.